everybody, welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. A couple of months ago, the team over at Paint and Sounds reached out and asked me if I'd like to become part of their team. They said it was for my razor sharp wit, and overall good looks. So I said yes, of course, but I hoped also I'll be able to make some beats and loops and samples. They said I could do that as well, so it's all good. One of the first things I got to work on was the dark sample pack Sinister that's released this week. The kit contains 10 loops that come with their own midis and stems, and I'm not just saying it because I worked on them, but the samples really are fire. What makes it even better is the kit is free, so I'll make sure to leave a link in the description where you can get your copy after the video. With all that out of the way, let's get into breaking down these samples. Okay, this is the first sample we're going to break down from the pack. It's called Astaroth, it's in D minor, and it's 135 BPM. So first off, I got these strings, and it's the Blue Universe preset from the augmented strings from Marturia. And if you've got Analog Lab V, you'll find them built in there as well. Nothing too crazy really, it's a simple D minor chord with the middle note inverted to the F5. And then I've dropped the root note down from D to C. After that, for variation, I've dropped the F down to an E, and for the final two bars, I've dropped that root note down to a C again, which actually forms a C major chord.
Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street?
After that, I've added this pad, which is the Angel Songs preset in this memory mode synth from Cherry Audio. A little note about this synth, it's not particularly expensive. I think I picked it up for around about 30 quid, and I use it quite a lot. It's not particularly intensive on CPU, and it's got a lot of nice presets that come with it. And everything is fully customizable if you like playing with LFOs, ADSR, all that kind of thing. Unlike I normally do with secondary sounds, I didn't follow the same chord pattern at all with this one. I played around within key until I came up with something that I liked. Because the strings were so deep, and this was quite a high ethereal sound, I felt that I didn't have to follow those chords exactly. And I'm pleased with how it turned out, and I think they complement each other well. This next element kinda happened by accident, but it sounded good so I kept it in. I basically loaded up Scalar 2 trying to find some complementary chord, and the default for that is the soft piano. I pasted in those chords I used for the strings, and then when I played it all, it sounded really nice with the soft piano underneath it, so I kept it in and used that as an element in the loop. A bit of a happy accident, if you will. The next two pianos I did mean to include, and they're both the Grand Noir preset from Addictive Keys. The first one, I'm just basically following the root notes from the strings and the soft piano chords. And the second piano, I'm playing a little bit higher, and for the first 8 bars it just plays a couple of notes, but for the second 8 bars it mimics the pattern played by the pad, but not exactly the same notes. This means that that pad and the second piano are rising and cascading at the same time, and they complement each other well. And the final element is this vocal from Ethera Gold Atlantis by Zero G. It's a Contact library, but it's got some really nice vocals in it. I do like Zero G for vocals. They've got some really nice stuff. A lot of it is sang by Chlorosaurus, and her vocals are excellent. As far as processing the sounds, I don't have anything on the piano or the strings, but I did add a reverb to the pad with the mixer around 24% and the decay dropped slightly. Again, there's nothing on the soft piano, and when it comes to that vocal, I've gone to my go-to vocal effects, Vibes by Phonaton. I've used the Alone in the Rain plugin, just turned off the texture, left the damage and everything else as it was as standard, and think it really adds something to an already fire vocal. After that, it was just leveling until I was happy with how everything sounded and thought that nothing was overpowering or being drowned out, and this is how the whole sample sounds together. Okay, on to the second sample we're going to break down. This one's called Lazarus, it's in C minor and it's 130 BPM. I thought this one was quite interesting to break down because it doesn't just use VSTs, even though it uses some paid stuff. It relies heavily on free sounds and a lot of one-shots, which I thought was a little bit different. Okay, so the first thing is the piano, and I've used the free VST, the Creepy Piano. I've used the Clay Shock preset as it sounds really nice with that built-in reverb and echo. I've started off in key with a basic C minor chord, and as with the previous sample, I've inverted the middle note, as that often sounds good. It's always worth trying for sure anyway. And instead of playing that middle note all the way through, I messed around in the scale and came up with these little runs, just so it wasn't playing the same thing over and over for 2 bars. I then replicated this every 2 bars, but going down a couple of semitones each time with the root note. I kept the runs in there as well, but I didn't have to lower those by 2 semitones every time. Sometimes it was just the one so that I stayed in key. And then just for something different at the end, I didn't play a chord, just a single note, and then the run. After that I use this Horror Strings one shot, which is from the J Cactus Drill Shots 2 preview version, which is free on his website. With these strings you can see there's no real pattern. I started off on the root note and then replicated it an octave higher. The next time I play it, it's just the A sharp 5. I've then done something similar to the first bar in the 5th bar with the G and the G sharp. Finally in the 7th bar I've just played the G twice at 2 separate octaves. So basically, there's no rhyme or reason for this. I've just messed around until I thought it sounded good and complemented the other sounds. You haven't always got to replicate everything the same from sound to sound, especially if you're trying to make something stand out or use it as an accent, for example. I've done something similar for the bell, and I've mostly followed the notes that I've played in the strings, except for that 7th bar where I've played the C instead of the G. The reason I set the strings and bells out like this is you might have noticed that the piano pattern resets every 2 bars basically. So what the strings and bells are doing is adding impact and accents to that reset of the piano every 2 bars. The bell in the sample is a one shot from a free track pack I picked up a long time ago. I'm not entirely sure where I got it from, but I'll see if I can find it, dig it out, and if I can, I'll leave a link in the description. After that we've got this ethnic sounding bell, which is an analog lab bank called Ghost of Tsushima. I really like this sound, and I basically used it to run up and down every 4 bars to add an extra layer to the melody. It ends up sitting in the pocket of space quite nicely, so nothing is clashing too much. Next I've added a vocal, and it's from a contact bank called Clara's Vocal that I think used to be free, but I'm not sure you can get anymore. If you're clever on the internet you can probably find it from somewhere, but I don't think it's actually officially available anymore. I went for this opera preset and picked out some notes within the scale and came up with this pattern. That was all sounding really nice, but it's all quite high, so I felt it needed some low end, so I looked around for a sub bass. I went for this movie sub bass from X10's 2022 drum kit. I then came up with this pattern starting in the root note of the key and slowly took the pattern down across the 8 bars. As far as processing goes, there's nothing on the bell, the piano and the strings, or even the sub bass. It's basically just leveling. But when it comes to that Ghost of Tsushima bell, I've got a halftime on there with the dial going round to the FX and the mix at 90%. This just means that you can hear some of the original signal, and having the FX around here makes a nice little effect where the halftime is on most of the time, but every now and again it goes off and you can just hear a snippet of the original. I really like the way this sounds and I use it quite a lot. After that I've gone for the thin micro that I use quite a lot on high end sounds. I've gone for the comb filter preset and turned up the amount a little bit. Then I've added an EQ, raised some of the high mids, lowered some of the mids, and I found this harsh frequency and dipped that out a lot as well. I've also removed most of the lows. I've also added wider with a mix at around 86% just to give that bell a little bit more presence. I've also added a reverb with a mix around 28% and the decay dropped a little bit. For the vocals I've added that Vibes to the Nathan plugin again and gone for a preset called Ghost Vocal and pretty much left it as it is. I've also added a reverb here as well with a mix around 30% and the decay dropped a little bit but not as much as on that bell. And that's pretty much it for this sample, and this is how it all sounds together. So with both of those samples broken down, that's pretty much it for this one. I'll leave a link in the description of where you can get the full pack for free. Hopefully you like them as much as we do. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what you thought of those two samples and the method I used to cook them up. If you do pick up the full pack, let me know what your favourite loop is in the comments. If you're still not subscribed but enjoying this content, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the little bell next to it. You won't miss an upload, it helps me and the channel out, it's a win-win situation for everyone. With that being said, until the next time, stay safe, be productive, I'll catch you on the next one.